All right, guys, let's jump right into the thick of it. Bill Maher's recent visit to The View has turned heads and sparked fireworks on daytime TV, and it's like totally rocked the left-wing world.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want. Okay. Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left?
On one side, we've got Maher, his razor-sharp wit, and an unwillingness to kowtow to what he sees as the absurdities of woke culture. On the other hand, you've got The View panel, particularly Whoopi Goldberg, firing back with classic leftist fervor. So here's the deal. Bill Maher went on The View to talk about his latest book. Nothing unusual about a promo tour, right? But instead of a standard plug-in chat segment, the show morphed into a battlefield. Maher used the opportunity to critique what he sees as the turbulent evolution within left-wing politics. He began by discussing the woke phenomenon, a term originally rooted in genuine social justice awareness, but which Maher argues has since morphed into something unrecognizable and maybe divisive.
Here's what she said about Michael Vick. He's from the South. This is part of his cultural upbringing. For a lot of people, dogs are sport. Instead of just saying he's a beast and he's a monster, this is a kid who comes from a culture where this is not questioned. Okay? You see the point here? Again, I don't agree with her on Michael Vick, but we grew up in two different worlds, which the white people imposed upon the black people. They are going to sometimes have a very different opinion. And the answer is not to make them sit in a corner for 2 weeks. That is insulting. It's so insulting to make a 65-year-old, the person at ABC News said, I've asked her to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments. Reflect. How insulting.
You know, Sunny Hostin probably thought she'd corner him with a rhetorical checkmate. She brought up the cultural appropriation of woke, attempting to question Maher's understanding or stance. But instead of floundering like a deer in headlights, Maher turned the tables, highlighting that words evolve and meanings shift over time. Now, isn't that an angle worth thinking about? Right? Maher observed that the left has changed dramatically, reminiscing when conservatives were viewed as the more extreme and abrasive party. But today, Maher suggests, if you blink twice, you might think the tables have turned, seeing movements within the left that dismiss nuanced discourse for loud, unyielding stances. Anyway, Maher didn't stop there. He criticized certain segments of the woke movement that he feels support unjust causes, mentioning groups like Hamas.
Oh, of course. The media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. First of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth.
Yes.
It's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half.
Yeah.
And it's tedious.
Yeah.
I just want one place, and of course it's my book and my show.
What?
The same group infamously opposing Israel's very existence, aligning with actions many see as overtly aggressive or, to put it mildly, harmful.
Astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. Just morally. Let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. Before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. Women have no, this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place. And a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. There is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education,
Nothing.
Reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community as well.
Yes.
That too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world where women are second-class citizens.
Now, why did Maher's commentary strike such a chord? Well, it's because he's a card-carrying liberal himself, someone who many might expect to support these progressive agendas without question. Instead, he expressed his shock and disappointment at parts of the left rallying around YAM to, bluntly, a terrorist organization.
So if they need to be destroyed, how do we do that? It's a war. I don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to do that.
But are you
I assume the
concerned about
Israeli.
innocent lives?
Of course, everybody is, but that's what happens in a war. Here's a way to stop that. Stop attacking Israel.
And stop calling for the annihilation of Israel and all the Jews. They're calling for the annihilation of the Jews. And so
Well,
you can't really defend that on the other side very
we can't.
easily.
But before we go, I want to say...
No, we're not going anywhere
No,
yet.
okay, but I just want to say one thing, as we were talking in the break.
Yeah.
Joy is a wonderful human being, and she should not be afraid that people are going to attack her because she said that thing about the swastika on the cap.
Well,
she does not think that as you said to me in the break, you do not think that all the people who are for Trump are Nazis.
No, I don't.
You
I
don't.
I have some in my family. I don't think they're Nazis.
Okay, great.
This viewpoint, you see, wasn't just pegged at the concept of wokeness. Maher took special umbrage with what he termed gender apartheid present in certain parts of the Muslim world. He pointed out, with quite the flourish, the hypocritical nature of those who critique Israel while glossing over grievous issues closer to home. Watching this all unfold, Whoopi Goldberg wasn't buying it. She hit back with a classic argument, urging not to lose sight of innocent civilians suffering due to broader conflicts. But Maher wasn't nodding along, oh no. He acknowledged the complexity but insisted on calling a spade when it comes to terrorist intentions versus defensive actions.
Ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war because it's a war, and they were attacked, and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed? This is the question.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So how
Okay,
can we do
well,
that with a ceasefire?
All right. So Hamas needs to be destroyed because they are a terrorist organization who say openly that they want to commit genocide on the Jewish people, on the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means, okay? And they say it very openly. They said, we did this attack. They've attacked Israel 5 times. They've started 5 wars since they were given that land back. They could have chosen to turn that place into any place they wanted to, and they took a lot of money that they took from the international community, and they spent it on bombs and guns and building tunnels.
Honestly, Maher's defiance on The View was a masterclass in owning one's narrative and deftly handling argumentative ambushes. You might have seen Whoopi trying to rattle him by insinuating that his rhetoric somehow painted him as unsympathetic to certain progressive causes. Maher dismissed it coolly, with his trademark sharpness, questioning why historical liberal stances on social justice should now be grouped under the burgeoning banner of wokeness.
If you've noticed what I've noticed. But I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news, I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing that. So bad players show up and make stuff happen. But do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
Oh, of course.
And it doesn't end there, folks. Whoopi, not content with letting Maher have the last laugh, seemed to interpret his statements as possibly abandoning previous liberal stances. Maher set the record straight by distinguishing between old-school liberalism and the newer narratives he feels stray from common sense. To hammer his point home, Maher gave examples that resonated deeply with many. Old-school liberalism, as he painted it, championed initiatives to help homeless people transition from streets to shelters, whereas he criticized the woke approach of normalizing and defending their plight on the sidewalks in the name of freedom. Now, just to add a pinch more spice, let's discuss how Maher poked at Whoopi's logic. When she made what many perceived as a metaphoric leap, suggesting those who don't subscribe to woke politics essentially suggest stripping away empathetic progressive governance, Maher's retort was simple yet piercing. It's not about losing compassion, it's about not losing touch with reality. Let's zoom out a bit. Maher's stance isn't just media clickbait. It resonates in larger debates on truth, media narratives, and the role of politics in social discourse. His parting shots on The View weren't just about dismantling woke culture's argument. They served as a criticism on how mainstream media handles these dialogues as well, sometimes prioritizing narratives over raw truth. At the end of the day, whether you side with Maher or find yourself rallying with The View, his appearance was anything but dull and left many, maybe like us, pondering the complexities of these cultural wars. Has the term woke evolved beyond recognition, or is Maher dealing in dramatics? That's for you to decide. One thing is clear, though, Bill Maher's visit to The View was a fierce exchange, not just in retorts, but in broader ideological implications. And really, aren't shows like The View about stirring these conversations? Okay, let's hear it from you. What's your take on this ideological boxing match? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And stay tuned for more episodes like this. Until next time.